takes a while to figure out exactly what's important in life. It did for me, though. I think I sort of figured it out fairly early on. I figured out that one of the most important things you will ever have to deal with in your life is your children. I want to talk about the subject today of For the Children on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 6th of June of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on Minds, minds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you might be picking me up today. And again, the subject for today is For the Children, and I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes to give you some idea what I'm actually saying today. I guess the first time I had to deal with real financial hardship was when I was in my 20s and going through a divorce. What made things hard was not how it affected me, but how my children were more than inconvenienced. It was at that point in my life I learned the real meaning of the words for the children. At various points in my existence, I've experienced the idea again and again. Most recently was when my accounts were largely tapped out, but I had a choice to do things for my youngest son or not. It wasn't some monumental occasion. We just went to visit a local pizza restaurant when I really couldn't afford to do it, having made it a habit to do so when I could afford it in certain circumstances. Here's what you need to understand. Your children are going to grow up once. They're going to do so relatively quickly. You have a choice. Will you work to make their time as little ones something they look back on with relative fondness, or will you inconvenience and beset them when you have various problems? I was sore tempted to tell my son I hadn't the money to do, to the point, where initially that's just what I did. I did tell him that. In the end, though, I thought about it and realized he's halfway to adulthood already, though things will work differently for him than for his siblings. In the end, I relented. Right now, I'm still suffering the consequences of making that decision. It's not alone. It's not like it wasn't a keystone that made the entire building fall down or anything, but it had consequences. Would I do it again? In a New York minute. Like it or not, your actions mean the difference between a childhood fondly recalled and one of a new adult would rather not consider. Being a dad or a mom is not nearly always an easy thing. It may be rewarding in some senses. Often those rewards are anything but financial, though. Raising an adult others are happy to be around isn't cheap. Chances are good I'll die in poverty or and obscurity. Maybe not, maybe so. But I think the chances are pretty good. Where I hate putting others through that, and I will if I do, for the sake of my son, that may be the way things work out. I'm going to try to be in a position where I can continue to support him for the foreseeable future. I flatly refuse to do that at the expense of his childhood. Is it difficult for you as a parent? Trust me when I tell you it is for me. Okay, done with my notes. Look. Here we are with look again. Excuse me, I'm trying very hard to get around to not do certain things, but I promise you that it's hard for me to do. My notes didn't last very long this time. And again, I tried to encapsulate everything in the notes like I typically do. What I want for you to understand is this. Your children are not going to be children for as long as lots of people think that they will. That's not how that works. They're going to be children for as long as they're children, right? So if you happen to be realistic about that, then it is how it works. But if you're not, then you probably think your children are going to be children forever. And let me just make it quite plain to you, that is not the case. Promise. It is not the case. If you're not doing things to make your children's lives a better place at this point in time, then I have to tell you, the time is going to rapidly run out, and those kids are going to look back on their childhoods with disdain. I'm not saying that you should absolutely do everything for your children. In fact, a part of what you should do for your children is to teach them things like patience through having them wait for things, to teach them about anticipation, to get them prepared for the fact that not everything is going to come to them immediately and that they're going to have to work hard for things as time goes on. And I'm not trying to say that none of that is true. Promise. I'm just not. On the other hand, it's really important in my mind that you intersperse those difficulties, those hard times, all the things that they're going through with good times and with things that they're going to enjoy, things that they're going to love, and things that they're going to want to do. Okay? Like I say, look, kids have to learn to work hard. That's something you have to teach your kids. I'm not saying sacrifice the important lessons in your children's lives in order to have them have an enjoyable childhood. But I'm also not saying sacrifice enjoyment in childhood in order to teach your children all the things that they need to know. I think there needs to be a balance. I think there needs to be a happy medium in which you're doing certain things that your children learn. You know, you have to do this hard thing if you want to get this good thing. You have to wait, or you have to work, or whatever it happens to be if you want to get this good thing. I think at the same time you have to make it so that your children get things, maybe even that should be above and beyond what they should expect while they're children, so that they have the opportunity to have fun. Because I have news for you. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, going from childhood to adulthood was a jarring experience. I'm here to tell you it was a jarring experience. And my dad was actually sparse in what he did for us as children, which is nothing against my dad. I'm not talking my dad or my mom down for that. I think that was a good thing to the degree that he did it. I think it was fine. I'm not against that, and I'm not trying to argue that he was wrong for having done it. My point is to say, though, if you are not doing things for your children in their childhood, as they grow older, they're not going to realize what it should look like to be a parent themselves, and they're B, not going to have a fond childhood to look back on. And that's not good. I promise you that's not what you want to do to your children. You want for them to be able... I remember when my mom was going through a second childhood of sorts. She had Lewy body dementia. And I remember when she was going through a second childhood, when those memories from her young adult life came flooding back into her mind. And she was remembering a dance and her anticipation going to that dance. And I have to tell you that I think I kind of did her wrong in trying to snap her back to reality at times, when I should have just left her in her memories. I really should have. I'm so glad that even as tough as she had it, and in certain ways she really did have it tough, I'm so glad that she had a childhood that she could look back on and have those memories flood into her present, even in times when the present wasn't so clear in her mind. I'm so very glad that that is true. And I'm just going to tell you that if you are a parent and you're not doing that sort of thing for your children, you're probably not doing them any favors. And I'm going to say it again. Look, I'm not that guy who's going to try and tell you, oh, you should either be exceptionally hard on your kids, and I'm not that person who's going to say you should never have them go through hard times or difficult things. I make sure that my son goes through his share of difficult things, but I really want for him also to go through his share of fun and interesting things. And he gets upset at me at times because sometimes he doesn't get as much of that as he'd like out of life. But I really try and make that the case. When I hear the expression for the children, I'm not thinking about the stuff that a lot of people are. Oh, for the children, we're going to make all of these schools and all of this, and we're going to teach them about community and all of that. And I'm not against teaching kids about community and things of that sort. I'm not. I think that's a good thing. I think you should do it. But I think that there are a lot of people out there who are doing that in ways where they're not raising healthy children who understand I'm going to have to work my backside off at times if I want to get things that I really would like to have. That's very important. You need to understand that. And I'm not saying that as a result of my trying to be mean-spirited or hard. And again, for the children, like I say, a part of that to me is to actually make your children understand and realize, hey, you know what? You can have fun times and you can enjoy yourself. And like I say, give them that for their teenage and adult years when maybe they won't have so much of that as they had when they were young, right? This is what I'm trying to say. That is what for the children means primarily to me. There's another piece, like I say, and it is disciplining them, and I don't mean pulling out the belt. I mean causing them to acquire discipline. That's what I mean when I say disciplining them, making it so that they actually acquire discipline. I think that's an important thing too, but I think that there's definitely a place for making sure that your children get that fun time when they're young. Okay, this has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, Sam Curtin. Today is Monday, the 6th of June of 2022, that beginning of the work week for those who work Monday through Friday. That means tomorrow will be Tuesday, the 7th of June of 2022. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, the podcast on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That is the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com site as well, on Minds, minds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be hearing or seeing me today. The subject for today has been for the children, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the subject, and kind of an interesting one that came to me as I was thinking about how the world around me was changing, and it is, I haven't moved. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you on Tuesday, the 7th of June of 2022's edition. That would be tomorrow's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was recorded on Monday, the 6th of June of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, Minds, minds.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind, you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.